Hi, thanks, Katie. Can you all hear me okay? Great. All right, so thanks everybody for sticking around to hear me as your last presenter for the fair today. And I'll be pretty brief, and then I'll turn things back over to Vicki and Kristen. They've got just a few wrap-up slides before we get you on your way to lunch. So my name's Emily Pfotenhauer. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, which is situated on ancestral Ho-Chunk land. It's a place the Ho-Chunk Nation has called Day-Jope since time immemorial. And I've worked with WILS, Wisconsin Library Services, since 2009. And WILS, as you heard earlier, is an independent 501c3 member organization. And we provide a lot of different services to libraries and cultural organizations all around the state. That includes public libraries, K-12 libraries, college and university libraries, and also museums and historical societies. And my main role at WILS is to manage various digital initiatives, including the Recollection Wisconsin statewide digital collection. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Recollection Wisconsin program and our partnership with the Digital Public Library of America, or DPLA. And I'm going to talk about how Recollection Wisconsin and DPLA extend the reach of local digital collections and make local content more visible on the statewide level and on the national stage. So next slide, please. All right, so the Digital Public Library of America, or DPLA, aims to amplify the value of libraries and cultural organizations as Americans' most trusted sources of shared knowledge. So you all, coming from cultural heritage organizations, are trusted sources of shared knowledge in our country. And DPLA does this by collaborating with a national network of partners. And they make millions of materials from libraries, archives, museums, and memory institutions across the country available to all in a one-stop discovery experience. So that's centralized access to digitized resources is a core activity of DPLA, and it's what I'll focus on today. But DPLA also does other work in supporting libraries and cultural institutions, including developing innovative tools and approaches to help make information more accessible. That includes a library-controlled marketplace for ebooks. DPLA launched in 2013. It's an independent organization, and it's funded by membership contributions from its partners, as well as grants from major funders, including the Mellon Foundation, the Knight Foundation, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and Pivotal Ventures, which is the foundation founded by Melinda Gates. Next slide, please. So the sort of most visible public-facing aspect of DPLA is its research portal at dp.la is their website. Through the DPLA Portal website, you can discover almost 44 million photos, maps, books, manuscripts, audio recordings, and other resources from more than 4,000 libraries, archives, museums, and other contributors across the country. And that number keeps increasing every month. They add more records from partners and add in new partners as well. So these almost 44 million items include lots of materials from major collections like the Smithsonian and the National Archives, but it also includes all kinds of smaller and localized collections, such as the archives of Spelman College in Atlanta, the Range Riders Museum in Miles City, Montana, and then right here in Wisconsin, places like the Richard I. Bong Veterans Historical Center in Superior and the College of Menominee Nation in Keshena. And all of this content is coming into DPLA through its nationwide network of service hubs. So service hubs are the organizations that bring together descriptive information about resources and links to individual digital items from partners within their state or region, and then contribute that aggregated metadata, that whole set of resources from their state or their region to DPLA. So Recollection Wisconsin is our state's service hub for DPLA. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a moment. But first, to highlight a couple more specific DPLA initiatives. Next slide. The most heavily used area of the DPLA Portal website is its resources for teachers and students, and in particular what they call primary source sets. The primary source sets are designed to help junior high and high school students develop critical thinking skills by exploring topics in history, literature, and culture using primary sources. Each set includes an overview, 10 to 15 primary sources that come from DPLA's contributors, links to related resources, and a teaching guide. And these were all created and reviewed by volunteer, or not volunteer, but teachers on the DPLA's Education Advisory Committee. And then another project to highlight from DPLA, next slide, please. This is a recent project that launched in September of last year. DPLA launched a new special project called the Black Women's Suffrage Collection. So this is a digital collection that highlights the roles and experiences of Black women in the women's suffrage movement, as well as Black women's history of activism from the 1850s through the 1960s. And they created this as part of the centennial celebration of the passage of the 19th Amendment in 2020. To build this collection, DPLA mined the metadata records it already aggregates in order to surface relevant content. They came up with a lot of keywords that would relate to this topic, and then they basically dug into their 44 million records to find items with those keywords that would fit this theme. So that content ended up including more than 1,000 items from Wisconsin collections, from Recollection Wisconsin content partners, including the Wisconsin Historical Society's Freedom Summer Collection, the March on Milwaukee Civil Rights History Project from UW-Milwaukee, and activist James Cameron's collection of pamphlets that are held by the Milwaukee Public Library. And this project, the Black Women's Suffrage Collection, was also the impetus for DPLA to adopt a statewide statement on potentially harmful content. And that's a statement that's meant to let users know that they might find historical content on the site that is biased or offensive or described using outdated terminology. So you can find that full statement on harmful content on the DPLA website. And you can go to the next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, Recollection Wisconsin is the DPLA service hub in our state. So that means Recollection Wisconsin is the pathway or the on-ramp for Wisconsin libraries, archives, and museums to contribute their unique digital collections to DPLA. Recollection Wisconsin has been around since 2004. At that time, it was known as Wisconsin Heritage Online, or WHO. The program did a rebranding in 2013, which is when the name changed to Recollection Wisconsin. And 2013 was also when we started having the first statewide planning conversations about participating in DPLA as a service hub. So Recollection Wisconsin officially launched as a DPLA service hub in August of 2016. So we're coming up on our 5th anniversary in DPLA. And we now contribute more than 600,000 metadata records from over 200 content partners. And this has always been a collaborative effort. Next slide. So Recollection Wisconsin is a consortium and a collaboration. We have 6 governing partners. Those are the Milwaukee Public Library, Marquette University, Wisconsin Historical Society, UW-Madison, UW-Milwaukee, and the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, or DPI. And DPI also provides the bulk of Recollection Wisconsin's operating costs through WiseLearn state funds. And in addition, WILS, so my home base, Wisconsin Library Services, functions as the project manager. So WILS staff maintain the program's day-to-day work. And in addition to these governing partners, we have dozens of content partners all around the state. So next slide, please. So the metadata that we provide to DPLA represents cultural heritage materials from more than 200 organizations around the state. So that includes all kinds of different organizations, public libraries and public library systems, archives at academic institutions, including private colleges, technical colleges, UW-Wisconsin system schools, the Medical College of Wisconsin, as well as museums, local historical societies, and multiple state agencies. And this is a map which was created last fall in 2020 to show the distribution of our content partners by county. And you can see on the map that participation is stronger in some parts of the state than in others. So a really big priority for Recollection Wisconsin in the coming year and years beyond that is to start building more connections and stronger support for historical societies and libraries in those counties that are at 0 or 1 or 2 contributors. We really want to build more equitable and truly statewide participation. So working with people in these underrepresented areas to get a more fully statewide digital collection. In addition to providing content to DPLA, Next slide. Recollection Wisconsin is also a resource, that community of practice that we've been talking about all day. We are a resource to help libraries, archives, historical societies, and museums bring their collections online, and to do that in a standardized way that fits into nationally recognized best practices. So we've developed lots of different guidelines, some of which you've seen in links today, information about scanning and metadata requirements, tips for working with vendors, consulting services, and just generally continuing to build this network of expertise and resources to provide you all with the support you need to bring your collections online. And Vicki and Kristen did a great job of highlighting some of these resources and opportunities around the Digital Readiness Community of Practice earlier this morning. We've been putting lots of links into chat throughout the morning, and we'll be sharing all of those links out after the session today. So next slide. For the second half of my presentation, I'm going to give a really brief demonstration of how to search the Recollection Wisconsin portal website. So how to search those 600,000 records from our partners around the state. I'm not going to do a live demo just because logistically that's tricky. So my next several slides are all just screenshots. But you are welcome to try your own searches as I go or later. If you head to recollectionwisconsin.org, you can get a feel for the site on your own. So there's a number of different ways or places to start your search on the Recollection Wisconsin website. There's a search bar that you'll see in the header on every page. We have a primary search page, which also has some search tips to help you out with your searches. Or you can start on the browse page, which also has some options to browse, surprise, for collections organized by subject area or topic and by media format, so sorted by different types of content like audio recordings or maps or yearbooks. And then there's also an option to browse by content partner, and that'll let you navigate directly to the collections that have been contributed by a specific library or historical society. Next slide. So in my demo for today, I did a search for Appleton, since Appleton is our local host. I just typed Appleton into the search bar, and in this screenshot here, you can see I got 914 results on the website for Appleton. You can see the first two results on the list displayed here. Sorry if that's a little small for you. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll see basically me scrolling to the bottom of my search results list. We see this 1901 Appleton City Directory. So if I click on this item, I'm going to click on this item so I can learn more about it. So this is the 1901 Appleton City Directory. It was contributed by the Appleton Public Library. So this is its item record with more information about the publication. You can't see all of the metadata from this screenshot, but this is going to include metadata like the date of publication, the author of the publication, the copyright status, so whether it's in copyright or not, and whether it can be reused. And then you'll see this big orange button that says View Full Item. So if I click View Full Item, I get linked out to the full item record in its home location. So now I'm outside of Recollection Wisconsin. In this case, I'm looking at the full 1901 city directory in Appleton Public Library's own digital collection, which is called the Appleton Memory Project. So from here, I'm in this specific book. I can do a search, a full text search to find a name or a place or another term in this book. I can keep exploring the rest of Appleton's digital collection, because now I'm in its collection. Or I can go back to the recollectionwisconsin.org site to keep looking at my other search results. And for this demo, I'm going to go back to my search results. So again, you just saw this. This is the search results page at recollectionwisconsin.org for the search Appleton. And then at the bottom of the search results page, I wanted to show this feature. You see the section called Explore Related Items in DPLA. This is actually showing me items. Oh, can you go back a couple? This is showing me items with the search term Appleton that are actually coming from other DPLA hubs outside of Wisconsin. So there's 4 thumbnails across the bottom are records that use the word Appleton that are coming from other DPLA partners. So if I click on the far left item, the first item in the Explore Related Items section, here I see a postcard of the Appleton Public Library's building And this comes from the collection of the University of Illinois. So this is a really interesting way to search and explore and see kind of what's out there in the digital world that might document your local community. So for example, this University of Illinois collection is a whole collection of postcards depicting libraries, library buildings all over the country. So it's just a really interesting sort of starting point to see what else is out there about your community or a topic you're researching from other organizations around the country. So last slide, please. That's my very quick tour of recollectionwisconsin.org. And I encourage you to take some time to explore both that portal website and the broader DPLA portal at dp.la. And I think we have a couple of minutes left for questions before I turn it back over to Kristen and Vicki to wrap us up. So thanks, everybody.
All right. Well, feel free to continue sharing your questions in chat. As both Emily and Kristen mentioned, if you're able to stick around afterwards for our social time, we will be here until 1 o'clock, and we are happy to continue the conversation, answer your questions, all your burning questions about digital projects, digital readiness. Thank you, Emily, for that whirlwind tour of Recollection